seen things people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Today's video will be a quick one, as it's actually in reference to an article from FlatpanelsHD. They've been around for a long time. They do an amazing job. This article is from Rasmus Larson. Just came out the other day, and it lists all of Sony's prices for the 2021 lineup. And I wanted to go through those prices with you and go through the models with you. First, before we start, as much as I love what I do and think it's important to bring this information to you guys whenever I can, let's keep in mind that I'm not a journalist. These guys are journalists. So please follow the link in the description back to Rasmus's article and FlatpanelsHD and support them in their hard work, as they are true journalists that put in lots of time and work. Where it takes me only just a few minutes to do a video, it takes them the longest time to edit and find this information. So that said, the whole article, I'll link that back so you can see that. It gives you the lineup. What I like about their compare tool database here is it shows you not only the lineup, but the prices and sizes available, as well as the prices in the UK. So again, please follow the link in the description below back to FlatpanelsHD so you can read the article yourself. Now, I had some of these prices. Not able to share them with you guys, but now I can. So here we go. So we're starting quickly with the Sony Z9J. Many of you are curious to see how this new LED, the true successor to the Z9G, what it will cost. We had predicted $8,000 at 75 inches, and here we are at $8,000 at 75 inches, as well as $10,000 at 85 inches. Now, they don't have the UK prices for this model just yet. The Z9J, for me, is going to be an amazing panel. The Z8H was excellent as well. However, the Z9G had the backlight master drive, was an absolute monster. So I'm not sure the Z9J will have that same punch as the Z9G. The Z9G was a bit of a enthusiast model, but we're hopeful. I'm really pulling for the Z9J to be everything the Z9G was, even though it will not have that backlight master drive. Now, down to the Sony A90J, which has been out for a while. Again, predicted it would be $8,000 at 83 inches. And it is $3,000 at 55 inches. This is all common knowledge. Actually, this whole video is probably common knowledge by the time I put it out, but just to share my thoughts with you guys in a quick video. Sony A90J, for those of you that don't know, is their master series as well. It is $3,000 for its 55 inch, $4,000 for the 65 inch, and $8,000 for the 83 inch. Now, again, we can look at the other UK here and show you the prices in pounds there. And you guys can see those as well. And then obviously in euros on the other side. So the A90J obviously has made a huge splash as being the most impressive OLED out of the gate, being brighter, using a heatsink. It is expensive, but keep in mind, guys, we are looking at an 83-inch OLED. So even though $8,000 is a lot of money, keep in mind that the C8, the panels around then at 77 were about $15,000. I think the C8 was about $12,000. Now 4K is getting to the end of its life, which is why you're seeing these prices less than the 8K lineup. But keep in mind that the 85-inch Z9G was $15,000 at its launch a few years ago. Moving down to the Sony A80J, which I should be able to show a video of the end of this week. You're looking at 55 inches at 2,300, 65 inches at 2,800, and at 77 inches, 4,500. Now that's going to be more in line with the price of the G1 Evo. So it actually puts the C1 still in a better spot for LG. Now, my prediction for the A80J is to be very similar to the AAH of last year, except it will have HDMI 2.1 as well as a new cognitive processor. But this pricing, again, is interesting. Now, keep in mind, Sony's prices tend to be high at launch, and they tend to drop after the first few months slightly. But that is a very interesting price. Because in my opinion, the G1 Evo from LG is here to compete with the A90J, and the A80J would be there to compete with the C1. Now, other than last year's or 2 years ago Sony A9G at 77 inches, there is no competition for the C1 at its price point at 77 inches. So very interesting pricing here for the A80. I was hoping to see that come into the $3,000 mark. Now, also here is the Sony X95J. This is the successor to last year's 950H, which I had at home from Value Electronics. Now, they don't have the 65-inch price here released. The 75-inch will be $3,000. The 85-inch will be $4,500. Unfortunately, they don't have the prices for the other regions here. What's interesting about the 950H is last year they actually had a 49, a 55, a 65, a 75. And I don't know if they had an 85 last year. I believe they did. But I don't like that it's limited to these three sizes. I'd like to see the X95J be 49 again. And while that does, again, looks expensive, keep in mind this is going to be their 4K flagship. So expect a slightly better picture quality than last year's 950H. I expect it to be largely the same, except for the cognitive processor and HDMI 2.1, like the rest of this year's lineup. But excited to see this one. And one other quick tidbit is that I had the X950H last year from Value Electronics. I had that in February or like the beginning of March. I saw it at their place in February and had it home in the beginning of March, mid-March. I did videos on the X950H, and the 900H came after. Interestingly enough, this year the X90 came out first, and the 95J isn't going to be until summer. But many of you are looking at this panel here. Now, also the X90J, which is the panel that I do have from Value Electronics currently right now. I actually have the 65-inch. It is their mid-range. Again, the successor to last year's 900H, but now having the cognitive processor, and like last year having HDMI 2.1. And what we're looking at here is a 50-inch, not a 49-inch. Again, interesting size choice. $1,300. $1,500. Now, I always find this interesting when we jump sizes that the price is so close, because you think about how close they are. A few $100 without tax, with tax makes a difference. But $1,300, $5,500, 65 inches is $1,800. Little expensive in this area here. 75 inches, $2,600. That feels more like the 900H prices. Again, you see the big difference from 65 to 75. And then this insane 100-inch panel. Not really sure why they would release a 100-inch panel, but I'm not sure why they would also release a 100-inch panel at this price point of $20,000, but not have it be their flagship. So I can understand them releasing this panel here, but at a much more affordable price, because they're 85-inch. And oh, real quick, I didn't even realize this till just now. They don't have an 85-inch X90J. So not really sure why they're doing that, because the 900H is an excellent choice at 85 inches. You can buy that at Costco or Sam's Club or Walmart. So interesting choice there to have their flagship here with these three sizes, but then have many more sizes here in the X90J, which should be much more affordable, especially as the prices come down. But to leave out that 85-inch and then put this random 100-inch, especially at this price point, if that was 100 inches at, $8,000, that might be something else that we could talk about. But interesting size choices here, much like the X90, the X, going back up here quickly, Much like the A90J not having a 77 inch, because many people wanted that coming from the A9G, but offering it here at the A80J and at this price point is interesting to me. I'd much rather have seen a 77 inch A90J versus this double the price from 65 to 83. But they have their reasons. And then here's the X85J, which is actually an edge-lit LED. And that is here's a lot of good size. So this is maybe where they're looking to put this lineup in here for a 43 inch at $900, a 50 inch at $1,000, 55 inch at $1,200, $1,600 for the 65 inch, $2,200 for the 75 inch, and $3,200 for the 85 inch. Not a huge fan of seeing edge-lit LEDs unless there's something like the 930E, which was like which was an edge-lit full array hybrid. I'm not expecting that here at this price point. You probably can find these as well. If I'm predicting, this will be your Costco crew right here, and then you also have your Sony X80J. So I'm so glad they have all these other sizes. It's very rarely do we get to see these prices as well. So we're looking at direct LED, $750 for the 43 inch, $850 for the 50 inch, $950 for the 55 inch, and $1150 for the 65 inch, and $1,700 for the 75 inch. So lots of credit to FlatpanelsHD. They do talk about the lineup here to Rasmus to actually put in the work and not just get the high end. Most websites would just literally have this crew here, but to go the extra mile and have that next level down for those of you that are looking for your first panel or your second panel. But I do like that even these panels here that are more affordable, you are getting the much larger sizes as well as the small ones. So I'd like to see that huge lineup for any price point to make all these panels affordable. Now, what are your thoughts on the pricing? What are your thoughts on Sony's lineup? I know for me, after CES, talking about this lineup, the only one that really wowed me in terms of its difference was the A90J having the heatsink. A lot of everything else is kind of samey compared to what you see Samsung and LG doing with mini LED, as well as TCL, Hisense. But you know, Sony puts out good quality. They have a very extensive lineup here. I just hope that they pay a little more attention to their firmware update promises in terms of variable refresh rate. And I also hope, I think he does mention this in the article, or Rasmus does mention it. Yeah, here he does mention, if it is a he, I shouldn't assume that. Z9J is Sony's new 8K model for 2021, but 8K is not getting any more approachable or attractive. The company is increasing its starting price versus $7,000. So yeah, so the Z9J was more expensive than the Z8H. I didn't remember how much this Z8H was. There is a continued dearth of 8K content, but you know, even here where he says not even YouTube's 8K streaming is supported, they have to change this. And the reason I say that is a lot of reviewers would tell you that if you bought the Z8H or the Z9G, you were kind of buying those as 4K LEDs, like ultra 4K LEDs, because you weren't able to really use 8K content that was available from, say, YouTube. So I just think they have to be better with making that happen. At least look at some 8K demos. Would be, you know, nice to be able to watch that. And obviously the HDMI 2.1 support. Here, as you say, the big news from Sony is HDMI 2.1 support, obviously. However, VRR will require a firmware update. And I understand them not having that available at launch. I get that. But not having the 900H, having that update, you're looking at a year. You're coming up on a year for the 900H. The 900H, again, came out later in the year. But you'd love to see that the crew that bought the 900H, give them a treat. Put their update out first. Let them have it for at least a few months before you give it to the new owners. So far, I am very happy from what I see of the A90J in person. Spent a lot of time with that. Looking forward to filming the 83-inch. Also, again, having the X90J, which I'm testing home now. I'm impressed with it. I'm enjoying it. The 95J we will also have in-house. I won't have them at the same time. And hopefully I see the A80J at Value Electronics at the end of the week, if not next week. The Z9J will also be one we will feature in store, and we will put the Z9J versus the ZX from LG. So we'll have some fun stuff coming up. But what is your thought on the lineup? What is your thought on the pricing? Do you feel that these prices are out of control or too expensive? And just for reference, I will tell you that my first 4K panel was in 2015. It was a JS Samsung. That was $5,000 at 65 inches. My next 4K panel, I believe it was $5,000, maybe $5,200. My next 4K panel was in 2016. It was a Vizio P series. It was $4,000 at 75 inches. That was a full array local dimming LED. And the prices my point is the prices have come down substantially for 4K, but at 8K, again, we are seeing those almost in your prime 4K prices. As far as the highest end LEDs at the time, the Z9D, those guys were at these price points. And as far as 8K OLEDs, the only one I am aware of is the ZX this year, which is $20,000 at 77 inches and $30,000 at 88 inches. Also, the Z9 from the year before, which is no longer available, was also $30,000. But are you happy with the lineup? Are you happy with it all being out here in front of you with your Master Series lineup, the Z9J, the A90J? Do you think the A80J is priced fairly? Again, keep in mind, this price here is substantially more expensive than the C1 at 77. And since there is no AAH at 77, now we're looking back at the the A9G from 2019, which is about 3,200 right now. It might rise again and fall again, but that would be the 2019 A9G versus the 2021 C1 and also the 2020 CX. So I think they're leaving themselves a little too open here at the 77-inch size for LG to swoop in. Your X95J will be direct competition with the Samsung Q90A mini LED. Now, what do you think of that pricing? I'd love to have the 65-inch pricing. I do think this is a little more expensive than the 900H. I'm not quite sure what that 900H was at launch. And then these other panels here. All right, guys, that's a pretty long video. I meant for that to be actually much shorter, but thank you so much. Let me know what you think in the comments, and please follow the link back to FlatpanelsHD. And the author of the article is Rasmus Larson. And again, keep in mind, these are real journalists. I'm just a YouTube guy. I'm just a fan putting out the information I read from them. So please go back, follow them, and give them love for all their hard work and research. All right, guys, thank you as always. I will see you in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.